Yeah, I totally agree. It's what we all do. We use social as a way. Everybody will jump to a conclusion based on what your social presence is. So your static social presence, so your LinkedIn profile, and your active social presence, so what you're posting, what you're commenting on, etc., etc. I remember back in the days before GDPR, back in 2018, when people were posting about GDPR and they were saying, "I don't care, I'm just going to go out and spam people, and this isn't, and the law isn't going to stop me." And I was sitting there thinking, does your company know that you're actually posting on social media that you're going to break the law? I mean, really? And this is what you post is who you are. And what you need to be doing is that you need to be encouraging, you need to be insightful, you need to be interesting, even better still, entertaining.
Hi, friends. Welcome to the Sales Enablement Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Paul. That was Tim Hughes. Tim is the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite, and he's author of the book titled Social Selling: Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers. In our conversation today, Tim and I explore how sellers can effectively use social media, in particular LinkedIn, to generate leads and drive revenue. We dig into some great specifics about how sellers need to organize and prepare to connect and have conversations on LinkedIn, including, for instance, how to create a buyer-centric profile. And Tim shares some great tips on how to create a buyer-centric profile. Now, virtually all prospects look at your LinkedIn profile before they talk with you. So, what are they going to find when they do? Do you look like every other salesperson? Or are you creating content showing your prospects that you possess specific expertise that can help them? Which is also a good way to start building trust. So I love Tim's imagery of LinkedIn, in which he asks the question, imagine that I pick you up in my car tomorrow and drive you to a place which is full of prospects and customers, and all you have to do is go up and have conversations with them. It seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it? Well, if you're ready, that's what we dig into today. Now, we get into all of this and much, much more, but before we get to Tim, I want to remind you to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to it. And I want to remind you to check out my latest book, Sell Without Selling Out. It's a modern, human-centric framework for increasing your win rates and shortening decision cycles without resorting to the salesy behaviors that your buyers hate. It's available everywhere you shop for books, online and in stores. All right, let's jump into it with Tim. Tim, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Andy. I'm really excited to be here. It's been a little while.
It has. Yeah, we you pointed out to me it's been 6 years since you've been on the program.
It is, yeah, 6 years.
Wow.
I had a full head of hair.
Yeah, that's right. You had a full head of hair the last time I talked. So, yeah, your business has taken its toll on you.
Yeah. It's a startup, you know.
Yeah. So, well, for people who aren't familiar with you or who didn't catch the episode before that you're on, hundreds and hundreds of shows ago, tell us about you and what you do.
So I'm the author of the book Social Selling: Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers, which is a multi bestseller. And I started a company 7 years ago with my business partner, Adam Gray. And what we do is that we transform organizations to use social as part of their business. So it becomes intrinsic to the business. Some people see this as social selling, which is only part of the story, because sales is it's easy to say we can increase revenue or shorten sales cycles or whatever, but actually it goes across human resources, procurement, customer service, and we're the only company in the world that does this. We transform organizations with social across the whole of the enterprise.
All right, so we're going to dive into sales later, but tell us about what you do for HR or any of the other divisions.
Well, it's very similar to sales, which is that what you're able to do with if you empower your HR people, for example, to actually have buyer-centric profiles, so they look good to candidates. They have an active network of people that they're looking to recruit, and they actually are posting content. What they're doing is that they're externalizing the culture of the business. So for example, if the modern job seeker is the path that they take is exactly the same as the modern buyer.
Yeah.
What we're doing is that we're going online, we're looking at things online, and we're going, that's boring, or that's exciting, or whatever. We're
Right.
looking at content, we're reading content, and what HR departments are able to do is actually able to get put out content that is going to be stimulating to that to the job seeker.
Right.
But better still, what you'll find is that the classic thing, the reason why we used recruitment consultants and headhunters, is that we wanted to get hold of those A players, those people that were happy in their jobs, that were saying, I'm happy where I am, I'm making a load of money,
Right.
I don't need to move. But what we're able to do by using content is that we're able to engage with those people. They'll go, oh, that looks like a really interesting company, or that looks like a really interesting person. And if they keep seeing that, it's when they, and then they have a bad day, it may be that's the point where they go, do you know, I'm going to actually start looking for something else. And you're able
Right.
to prize these people out of jobs. So it's very, very similar to what we're doing in sales, but we're doing it within HR. We're also doing it in procurement and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Very cool. All right. Well, let's talk about sales. I mean, I like this article you posted. Actually, I think it was just yesterday on LinkedIn, titled "Why You're Not Crushing It on Social."
Oh
And that spoke to a lot of different sort of elements I found really interesting. So, what constitutes crushing it on social? And then we'll talk about how that relates
Okay.
to sellers.
Okay, so we see social media as being able to give you two things. The first thing, it should be giving you leads and meetings. The way that you go about your work on social media should be strategic. Everything you do, everything you post, everything the comment that you write is to drive you to get leads or meetings or whatever that first thing. Because in my world of business to business, the only way that you make a sale is through a conversation.
Right.
So whether you're working for Sperry or whether you're working for or whatever company you're working for, sorry,
Name from the past.
yeah, I read your book. I know a little bit about you. Wherever, whether you're working for whatever company you're working for, what we do is that we have to sell it. We have to have a conversation. So what we're driving for on social is not to post. The point of the post or whatever we're doing is to drive the conversation. And what we need to be doing is first and foremost, in effect, as a sales leader, every key press that your salespeople make that they're using on social should be driving conversations, and you can measure that.
Right.
The second point is it should be driving revenue or EBITDA or however you measure it. So those are the two fundamental things that anything that you do on social should be driving.
Well, I love the example you give in the article about company one and company two that thought they had this great engagement for their content, and and I see this all the time. Is all the engagement came from employees? And
it's a thing that we do. One of the things that when we meet people for the first time, we do a presentation where we take them through an introduction to social media using our case studies and the data and stuff about how social is impacting and has changed the world, changed society, and changed the way that we do business.
Right.
And one of the things that we do in that is that we walk people through quite often and say, like, give me three of your competitors. Right, let's go online and look at them. And what you'll find is that every company, pretty much 99.999% of companies, are doing this. So, for example, I did a very similar article recently of a big organization that has 300,000 employees, and they have 3 million followers on LinkedIn.
Right. Collectively.
And the most
that's the company page.
Yeah, the company page.
Right.
So the company page, they've got 300,000 employees and they've got 3 million followers on the company page, and they get 10 likes. 5 of those likes are from people internal. 1 of those is from the marketing agency that produces it, and the other 4 are from random people. I don't know who they are. But if you think about that organization, they've got 300,000 employees and 3 million followers. And the best they can do is to do 10 likes.
Yeah.
Now, as well as those 10 likes, there's no comments. And if there's no comments, what that means is it's not resonating with people.
Right.
So anybody, any marketing team, and this is usually what happens, and you can spot this, and I mentioned this in the article that you wrote. What happened was that there were certain posts that got lots of engagement, all from internal people.
Right.
And that's where marketing have basically sent an email out saying, like this. Now,
Right.
anybody can like an article, but the thing is that I can assure you that all of those people, because you can see if a company is digital from what they're like on
Right.
social media. So all of those people, most people on social media, their network will be ex-colleagues, current colleagues, and recruitment consultants. So even though all of those people have dropped likes on that, and sometimes they got 150, 200 likes
Right.
from employees, even though they were dropping likes, the people that they were trying to influence, their prospects and their customers, probably never saw the content.
Right.
So that organization, as is most organizations, are basically just talking in an echo chamber.
Hmm.
So going back to our fundamental, which number one, which is the money that you're spending on social media should be generating leads and meetings. I bet those organizations are not generating anything at all, nothing, no leads or meetings. But what they'll be doing is that the marketing department will be internally saying, "Oh yeah, we got 150 likes on that. We're crushing it on social media." We hear it all the time, and this is this thing, which is that the leadership don't understand the way that they need to be able to challenge this because they don't have the skills and don't have the understanding.
And I presume in those environments is that the leadership is also constraining the individuals within the organization from feeling empowered to, create their own content and generate their own. Uh,
In most cases, and certainly in those two companies in that article that you said, none of the salespeople were having digital conversations, and none of them were walking digital corridors, which
right.
is a fundamental ability in sales today. I wrote an article 7 years ago called "How to Get 10 C-Level Meetings a Week Through Twitter." 7 years ago.
Right.
So the ROI of social selling has been proven, and has been proven over the last 7 years.
Right.
And so anybody that's not doing it is leaving money on the table. And certainly those two companies that I analysed, none of the salespeople understand how to use digital. They're being outsold, and they're being outsold by the competition and outmaneuvered by their buyers. I
Yeah.
mean, if as a leader you're happy with that, carry on.
Well, I mean, there's this idea of control, right? As people so worried about the message, and they're being consistent in messaging, and it's like, really, you're still worried about this today? It's like,
Well, come on, the genie's out of the bottle, and has been for over 10 years.
yeah,
Your people are using social media. I know organizations that stop you from accessing social media on your desktop, but all the employees do is just pick up their mobile phone.
right, do it on the phone, right? Which is where they're
So,
doing it mostly anyway. Yeah.
but the thing is that if you think about, all of those organizations will have gone through a process of training their employees about diversity, inclusion, health and safety, how to put up a ladder. So why are they not training people to how to use social media and saying, what we want is a structure and a format in which we can give employees an anchor in which to work in, just as we have done with health and safety and
Yeah.
diversity and inclusion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy that it still exists. I mean, I've seen situations where sellers are dinged in the eyes of their managers, downgraded in the eyes of the managers because managers are concerned they're spending too much time on.
And this is the thing, Andy, which is you can measure. You can measure
Right.
everything that a salesperson is doing. You can see through social whether somebody's contributing or not contributing. I
Right.
mean, when I was in corporate land, this was a massive thing. Is Steve contributing to the organization, or is he just going off and having lunches? Well, I can measure that now.
Right.
And what the salespeople need to be able to do is to be able to be activated to go in and be digital. So I'll give you an example. We've transformed a small, well, it's 200 people, Oracle reseller called Namos.
Hmm.
And after 2 weeks after they'd been trained, a prospect was online they had a business problem that they needed to solve. And they're online searching for that, and they found one of the salespeople. And the salesperson has a buyer-centric profile. They had a network, so they would be in that environment or being enable them to be found. And the buyer basically found the person and contacted them and said, "You look interesting. Can you help me?" Then that went into a normal discussion that we would normally have from a sales perspective of someone coming to you and saying, "Can you help me?" And that turned into a $2.6 million deal.
Right.
They've subsequently taken another $1.3 million out of that organization. So they've taken, nearly, what's that, $4 million
It's about 4 million, yeah.
in 6 months
So
from actually having people that are empowered to talk and be on social. And that's just, if you feel people aren't empowered and aren't prepared to be able to get those sort of things, that's the sort of level of money that you're leaving on the table, and that's going to your competition.
right. So there's two concepts. One you talked about just before, and want to dive into another one you talk about in the article. So one is buyer-centric profile, and two is sellers having a digital territory. So I wanted to get into those. So
Yep.
let's start with the buyer-centric profile. What constitutes a buyer-centric profile?
Okay, so there's actually three things that we always recommend. There's the buyer-centric profile, a digital territory, and content.
Right.
Those are the three things that
I was going to get the content. Yes.
you need to be empowered to do.
Right.
So the buyer-centric profile. This is a profile. Remember that what buyers are doing is that they're checking you out.
And they do it universally, it sounds like.
Universally. We know the data shows this. Gartner, right. McKinsey, Salesforce,
right.
HubSpot, you name it. You name it. The data basically says that buyers are on social checking stuff out. Now,
yes.
If we go to Google, we do use Google, but when we go to Google, we're generally looking for facts. Can you give me a name of an Indian restaurant within Twickenham? Mm-hmm. We're looking for something like that. When we go onto social, we're generally looking for something business related to solve a problem. We have a problem and we want to know whether there's something that can solve it.
Right.
And quite often that requires us to talk to people because we know that as buyers.
Yes.
So what we're looking for is someone that can help us. So if your LinkedIn profile says, quota crusher 5 times at President's Club. Once I get my teeth into a buyer, either they die or I die first. Funny enough, you won't get a lot of inbound. What we're looking for as buyers is someone that's going to help us, someone that's going to guide us,
right.
Someone that we can trust. And so what we're doing is that we're writing our LinkedIn profiles not as CVs, not about the company, not in bloody jargony gobbledygook. A friend of mine recently got a request. Do you want to come and work for a company? And it said that had the LinkedIn profile of the hiring manager, mm-hmm. and the hiring manager's profile was written in complete gobbledygook.
Right.
Ecosystems, the number one, and it's AWS. I mean, and the person said, I'm not working for AWS. If that's what their LinkedIn profiles look like, it's just ridiculous. And this is the thing: buyers are making decisions not just on goods, but on where they work.
Well, where they're investing their time. I mean,
where they're investing their time, where they're going to invest their effort,
right?
Where they're going to invest their career.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to buy $2.6 million of stuff from you, I'm investing political capital as a buyer that I'm buying from you.
Right.
The same as if I go to you and I'm going to come to you as a job, I'm investing my own political capital. And this is the thing that so the buyer-centric profile is actually about you. It's not about your company or products. Don't forget, Andy, when I connect to you on LinkedIn, I'm connecting with you. As soon as you move jobs, I'm still connected to you.
Yes.
It's your profile.
Absolutely.
And what I'm looking for is something, and one of the transformations that we've seen is that traditional sales profiles you run away from. The great thing about the internet and social media is that you can actually look for things and even buy things without talking to salespeople, which is brilliant. The thing is that what we're seeing with transformation is actually people walking towards salespeople. you look really interesting, can you help me? And that's a
Exactly.
fundamental change to the way it's been working for the last 50 years.
So how do they make their profile, I said, interesting?
Well, that's one of the things that we teach, Andy. So,
Well, I know. Give us a little bit here. People still need to contact you and learn more.
so there's a number of things about your profile. One is, so your summary title on LinkedIn is the most visible thing about you on the
Right.
internet. So if you Google your name, what happens is that Google loves LinkedIn because it's full of content. So usually what happens is that you'll be found. Unfortunately, Andy, as you have a fairly common name, you might not be on page one, but you are a best-selling author. So you know.
Right.
So anyway, Andy Paul, best-selling author. Your LinkedIn profile will come up, and I'll see your name, your photo, and your summary title. Your job as a salesperson is to get the person curious to say, Andy looks interesting, I'm going to look at his profile. Because if you've got the professional edition of LinkedIn, which is what I've got, anyone who looks at your profile, you know, LinkedIn tells you.
Right.
So immediately you've got an opportunity to have a conversation with that person. So 25% of the business, 25% of my business comes from people looking at my LinkedIn profile. So if you've got something that says something like head of tax at Beaton's Group, which is dull and boring, no one's going to look at you. If you've got something that says, which is what you do, I help entrepreneurs scale up their business. Okay, that's interesting, but I'm not buying. So you've missed out on a conversation. I get a lot of people with that as a title, basically trying to connect to me, and I never connect to them because I know that they're going to try and sell me something.
Right.
If you have something like mine, which says, should have played Quidditch for England,
Right.
what that does is that someone actually goes, what on earth is that? I need to check this guy out. And as soon as they check me out, bang, I've got them because they've looked at my profile, and LinkedIn will tell me that. So this is about how you can create curiosity. And then what you do is you've got your summary. Now, what everyone does is they talk in this gobbledygooky, stupid ecosystems. Right. I'm a high achieving, which everybody is.
Right.
Come on. I'm a tenacious, and it's just utter rubbish. If you think about when you go for a first meeting with a client, what you'll do in that first meeting is that you'll sit there and there'll be a round robin where everybody introduces themselves, and you'll give a little bit, because what you're doing is that you're trying to set a scene with the client where they should trust you. I've been working in selling accounting systems for the last 25 years. Right. I've worked across a number of verticals, et cetera, et cetera. Right. This is what people are looking for. They're looking for on your LinkedIn profile this thing about you, and the more that you can make it, about, not about your company, not about your products, about you, what you do at the weekend, what inspires you, the more that people will walk towards you. So we have a client, Cyberhawk. The CEO is Chris Fleming. He's a great profile to go and look, because he tells about in his summary profile about how he was expelled from school.
Yeah.
How he locked a teacher in a room and got expelled. But the thing is that what happens is that what you see is the true Chris.
Right.
And you may say, well, I wouldn't want to do business with somebody who got expelled from school. Well, Chris has actually then qualified you out.
Right.
And this is some of the efficiency gains that we get. So rather than have all this problem that we have at the moment where salespeople run around trying to be liked, talking to people that will never buy from them, what I've done is I've had someone come to me and say, I think that your summary title is unprofessional, and I would remove it immediately. And I wrote back to them and said, thank you so much. You're never going to buy from me.
Right.
Therefore, I've already qualified you out. Job done.
Right.
Yeah. So the thing is that what you're doing already is you're creating efficiencies by doing this, and by having a buyer-centric profile.
Well, and by being you,
feel close to you and trust you.
Right. But to your point though, is your profile headline about Quidditch for England that's you though, right? This is your displaying.
It's me. It's my English sense of humor.
Exactly. So, yeah. And that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to get people to understand you as the human,
Yes.
And
So it's about going through that process of knowing, liking, and trusting people.
yes,
And who are you going to most likely, when you want to buy something, who are you going to turn to? Well, you're going to turn to the people that you know, like, and trust. And you're going to turn to the people that are constantly putting up, well, that's an interesting article. Wow, I didn't know that. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. And that's the thing that, what
right,
you're doing is that you're putting your arms around your virtually putting your arms around your prospects and customers,
right,
and they're locking into you as an individual and locking into you and the insight and the expertise that you're sharing.
right. So talk about then this idea of a digital territory, because I suspect most people don't understand that. So tell us what you mean.
Well, so the what you need to do is you need to have as wide and as varied network as you can on LinkedIn. And this is about your digital territory.
Right.
This is about, so I've got next to me here a whole bunch of business cards. I just use them because they're in
Yeah, I was
but
gonna
we
say,
don't use them anymore.
you
But
don't
what
use
you need
business
to
cards,
do
right?
is you need to connect to all of those
Right.
people. You need to connect to your colleagues. You need to connect to your prospects. You need to connect to people through your prospect organizations. Now, when you connect to people, don't write to them and say, I'm your account manager and I'd like to connect. Because what you're saying is, I'm a salesman, I want to sell you something.
Right.
And so what we don't want to do is we never want to we don't like talking to salespeople. So what we do is that we keep away.
Mm-hmm.
So your job is, and we teach people this in our social selling and influence course, is a way of connecting to people so that what you're doing is that you're actually forming a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn allows you it goes up and goes down, but about 200 connections in a week.
Right.
That's 200 conversations that you can have.
Right.
And we know that conversations create sales. So that's 200 abilities for you to connect to people and not say, hey, this is buy my product because we're great, which is what everybody else says, and you just get deleted. It's about saying, hey, Andy, how you doing? I saw you put that article. Hey, Andy, I read your book. I really love this bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's about. So the mistake that everybody makes about social media is that they treat it like they've treated sales for the last 30 years. Cold calling has been around. It's 40, 50-year-old technology. Email marketing is what came out in the 90s. It's 30 years old. And what you do is you interrupt somebody and you pitch. So sometimes it's called interrupt marketing, whatever.
Right.
But you interrupt and you basically pitch about your product, and that's not how social works. Social is social.
Mm-hmm.
The best example of it is, if I said to you, Andy, I could pick you up tomorrow,
Yeah, I love this line from the
and I
article.
can,
Yeah.
yeah. This, if I can pick you up tomorrow, and I can drive you to a place which is full of your prospects and customers.
Right.
All you've got to do is go up to them and have a conversation. Now, if you think about the way that we would do it in a network environment, I would go and get a cup of tea. You'd probably go and coffee because you're American, and we'd go. There's somebody. I'll just go up and talk to them. Hi, how you doing? Have you travelled far? Go on, I'm English. You can probably tell from my. If I'm in California, I'd say
Right.
I'm English. You can probably tell from my accent. I'm not from around here, and I'd have a conversation. And that's what you have to do on social media. It's about being social. And all the research shows that people come to social media to be social. And it's about striking up that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And to grow your digital network, that's what you've got to do. You've got to have conversations.
Yeah. Seems obvious, doesn't it?
It does, but 99% of people are not doing it.
Right. Well, they're not doing it because this is how they're trained outside of social in their selling, is, as you said, let's show up and pitch, right? So I'm just going to translate that behavior to LinkedIn. It's funny. I posted last week on LinkedIn saying that, hey, if I was a hiring manager in sales, I wouldn't hire a salesperson who wasn't active on LinkedIn. And I would say majority of people agreed, but there was a fair amount of blowback. And it was just like, A is being accused of being discriminatory. And it's like, No, this is just a competency that you're hiring for, and an attitude, and what you're looking for in candidates is, are they embracing social? Are they embracing LinkedIn? Because LinkedIn is where conversations happen and business happens.
Well, we've taken it one step further, Andy. What we've done is that we've taken our social selling and influence course, and we've actually got it. The Institute of Sales Professionals, which is a global sales trade body, they needed to have digital as part of the recommendation of what a good salesperson looks like, and they've taken our social selling and influence course, and that's now part of their curriculum.
Right.
Which and again, it's the only social selling qualification in the world. And what this does is, as you say, it basically sets a level of what now salespeople should look like, in terms of their attitude, in terms of their curiosity, ability to create conversations, ability to have and create content, to be empowered, etc., etc. And now, if I was hiring people, I would be looking for people like that,
Yeah.
because I know they have an active network, and they know what they need to do on digital. They have an active network, and they will come on and they will come into my team, and they will start contributing faster than if I took somebody without him.
Right. And if you look at it from the buyer's perspective, when they see that same person, is they see somebody that has a point of view, somebody that's interesting, right? Because again, people are making decisions about how they're going to invest their time and attention. And again, virtually 100% of buyers are going to look up a seller on LinkedIn before they talk with them.
Yes.
Are you worth my time? What are you thinking about this? What you're doing and what I'm doing, and how it relates to a conversation we might have. Are you active
Yeah,
at all?
I totally agree. It's what we all do. We use social as a way. Everybody will jump to a conclusion based on what your social presence is. So your static social presence, so your LinkedIn profile,
Right.
and your active social presence,
Right.
so what you're posting, what you're commenting on, etc., etc. I remember back in the days before GDPR, back in 2018,
Right.
when people were posting about GDPR, and they were saying, "I don't care. I'm just going to go out and spam people, and this isn't, and the law isn't going to stop me."
Right.
And I was sitting there thinking, like, does your company know that you're actually posting on social media that you're going to break the law? I mean, really? And this is, what you post is who you are. And what you need to be doing is that you need to be encouraging, you need to be insightful, you need to be interesting.
Right.
Even better still, entertaining.
Yeah. If you can be. I mean,
Yeah.
I know a lot of sellers that sort of operate from a position of fear in two regards when it comes to LinkedIn. One is they're afraid of if they express an opinion, what their management's going to say, or just afraid if they express an opinion, what anybody that's on LinkedIn that sees their content will say. And you have to sort of learn to get over that, especially
think you do.
in the latter degree. And the only way you do that is through practice and consistency in posting.
Yeah, I think some of it is about, you need to be given the structure and the framework and understand, what to post and what not to post. But also, I think we've all moved, society has all moved and changed, which is that, let me, gay rights. If I write something about gay rights, if you're anti-gay, if you're homophobic, I don't want to buy. I don't want to. I'm really not interested in doing business with you.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas 5 years ago, I would have been terrified to make that statement, because I would have wanted to I would only have wanted to do business with everybody.
Right.
But now I think everybody is willing to put a stake in the ground and say, I believe in this and I stand for this. I believe in diversity, inclusion. I believe in empowerment of people. And if you don't believe in that, you and I aren't going to get on. So it's not really don't do business with me. And I'm willing to say that in a podcast that's going to go out to thousands of people,
Right?
Because that's actually the way I believe and the way I think, and I think everybody thinks like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. There's sort of this I don't call it stigma, but the sense that you can't express human views, that you can't express something, you just described in terms of support for gay rights, is that people think that's a political issue. It's like, well, okay, is that really a political issue? And then it is who you are. Then, to your point, is sure, you're qualifying out people that you don't want to do business with.
Yeah, and I think that's for me, and I think that, well, a lot of people think like that now, and certainly the millennials and the Gen Z people that are coming up through business now certainly see that as you need to stand for something.
Right.
Whereas I think the us Gen X people tend to do, we need to get on with everybody because that's what you need to do. And I don't think it's been, I mean, I would never recommend that you come on social media and be political. I mean, the things I would keep away from are gambling, smut, politics, all of those things I would never make comments on. Though I do make comments on where people have posted, I think there's a coin that's just come out in the UK which supports gay rights. And I think that's brilliant. It was never, they would never would have had that in the day when I was young. And I think it's brilliant. And I think it's important that we encourage that and we support that. Right. But I don't necessarily see that as political.
Right.
Whereas if you start going on, so for example, if you talk about your opinion about the gun law or something like that, I would say would be political. And I know that people put things on that about LinkedIn, but I steer away from it.
Right.
So there are markers and guide rails, which is why I think it's important that people get proper advice from people that know about this stuff, rather than leaving it to internal people who clearly don't understand digital, because you can look at their LinkedIn profiles and you can see that, or people that are just going to come in and do hints and tips, or hey, this is how you get a $1 million deal from one InMail or something like that. This is about structure, this is about strategy, and this is about a methodology, and giving the organization proper guide rails to work to.
Yeah, I agree. And then being turned loose, because I've seen companies in the last 3-4 years that have basically built their corporate brand reputation through the LinkedIn post of their employees, and have done it strategically and extremely effectively. In terms of creating a sense about fun and leading edge and a place that you'd want to do business with, driven largely through, like I said, the content creation and contributions of individual employees.
So there's two things there. Back to the beginning, there's an importance about, yes, you can build a brand, but at the end of the day, social should be about driving leads and meetings and conversations.
Which it has for that company. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So there's you should be looking at that, but the other thing the mistake that people often make is that they think this is an ability to push out brochures.
Oh yeah.
So that what generally most people, billions of dollars have been spent on software to push out brochures, and because what happens is that marketing create these brochures that nobody reads. So they think what we'll do is that we'll push them out into social media and then people read them, and they don't. Mm-hmm. The research shows that people come to social media to be social, not to read brochures. I go to your website for that. And in fact, what you'll see if you go through your timeline or you look at anybody, as soon as there's something brochure related or company related, the amount of engagement goes down, unless they're asking employees to drop likes on stuff, which is when you go in and you check.
Yeah. When I look at people, who are trying to be influencers, and then you look at the content that they're posting, and it's all company stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and it's brochures. And what you're actually doing is that you're teaching the algorithm to ignore you,
right,
and you're teaching your customers to ignore you.
Right.
And billions of dollars have been spent on companies doing this, which is kind of rather unfortunate.
Right. Well, I like a line you have in the post as well. You talk about, in social, you're using your presence and behavior on social media to build influence, make connections, grow relationships and trust, which leads to conversation and commercial interaction. And And I think for sellers, you think about that. It's like, well, okay, well, substitute email for social media in that. And does it work, right? Using your presence and behavior on email to build influence, make connections. No, grow relationships and trust. It doesn't work, right?
No.
Oops, sorry, dog barking in the background.
It's Andy's dog, by the way.
Yeah. Actually, it's my son's dog who I'm looking after while he's on travel. But yeah, she hates skateboarders, and we're in San Diego. And if
Does she? Right.
And if a skateboarder goes by outside, she alerts us to make sure that we are aware of the danger of the skateboard.
You're aware.
Yes.
So read that thing out again, because that's our definition of what social selling is. Read it out again.
Yeah, using your presence behavior on social media, we'll say LinkedIn because we're focused on that, to build influence, make connections, grow relationships and trust, which lead to conversations and commercial interaction. And
Yes.
my point was, if you substitute email or even the telephone, somewhat, or cold calling on phone in place of social media, it just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. And this is the thing. This is about, as I say, if you look good for your buyers, a buyer-centric profile, the buyers will actually walk towards you.
Yes.
And what you need to have is a digital network, so connected to people that you are looking to either sell to or influence.
Right.
Let's not forget that BMW, one of our clients, for example, they've got 100,000 employees. So how many people do you need to be connected to? More than one, more than 10. And so, but you need to be connected to as wide and as varied network as you can. And then the third thing is about using content. The content is the thing that gets you where people are going, that person looks interesting. They have a point of view. They posted something that I didn't know. Oh, I haven't seen that research. Oh, they've bought some things out. And that's the thing that they're looking for. The other thing is that we're using content as a way of actually generating leads and meetings.
Right.
So for example, in the introduction to social media presentation that we give people, we actually give an example of one of my team who posted a picture of him and his son at the beach. And off the back of that, he got six C-level meetings. He was asked to put in 2 proposals, and he got 1 purchase order. And I think that what happens is that people come to social media and they see photos of people at the beach or people at photos at exhibitions. And what they don't understand is that behind this should be a methodology for you to harvest that engagement. Social media is serious. It's a serious business.
Right.
And it's a serious business in a way that your business can generate revenue, competitive advantage, and market share. And I think people think it's all about pictures of your lunch or your dog or stuff like that. Well, posting a picture, I know someone who posted a picture of a dog on his LinkedIn profile, and he got 4 meetings off the back of it.
Yeah. Well, I think
because he knows how to harvest that engagement.
Right. And also, I would argue in that case is, and this is, you're seeing more of this on LinkedIn, is it's about being you again, right? It's about being personal. It's not about being the stiff, salesperson or company person. It's you. This is you.
Yeah, this is you. This is you. And often we actually get some people say, I'm not happy with that, and actually that's because they're socially awkward.
Right.
They're socially awkward in life. It's not just that they feel socially awkward on social media.
Right.
Unfortunately, this is the future. And what you need to do is that you need to be in a situation where you're comfortable with this.
Right.
Because this is the way. This is the way. This is selling now. You need to be comfortable with this, and organizations need to be giving you the guardrails in which to work to.
Perfect. All right, Tim. Well, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Andy. It's been excellent. I love talking to you, Andy. You've just come up with some great questions.
Likewise. No, this is great. So if people want to connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
The best way to get hold of me is on LinkedIn. I'm Tim Hughes on LinkedIn. And so if you send me a connection request, say that you've seen me on Andy Paul's podcast, please, because I get all kinds of people trying to connect to me and that. And if you say that, you'll get a conversation.
You haven't reached your limit yet?
No, not yet. No, close.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah. Likewise, but still not there. So, all right. Well, Tim, again, thank you very much, and we'll look forward
Thanks,
to seeing you
Andy.
again soon.
Have a great day.
It won't be 6 years the next time. One way or another, it will not be 6 years. So,
Okay,
all
cool.
right. Talk to you later. Okay, friends, that's it for this episode. First of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen. As always, I'm so grateful for your support of the show. And I want to thank my guest, Tim Hughes, for sharing his insights with us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast, Sales Enablement with Andy Paul, on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. So thank you for your help with that. And as always, again, thank you so much for investing your time with me today. Until next time, I'm your host, Andy Paul. Good selling, everyone.